beginning all of my various meetings that I'm having since Trump got elected by saying, these are not normal times. Damn right. We have a president who doesn't think that the rule of law applies to him, aided and abetted by a Supreme Court with their immunity decisions. So he is abusing his powers every day. He's running government by issuing executive orders left and right, which results in, as far as I know, over 100 legal challenges to his executive order, the most recent one being one that impacts federal employees. He's calling them essential, and whatever union collective bargaining rights they have, he wants to just annul them, I guess, by issuing an executive order, leading to yet another lawsuit. I want to thank the unions who are taking on the mantle of fighting back against this totally out of control dictator, as he thinks he's the king. So, you know, our federal employees are working every single day, and they are being fired illegally. The last time I was here, the teachers had just been, the Department of Education people had just been fired, half of them. And so they had a very quick rally. I was able to join them. But there are millions and millions of federal employees who are our teachers, our healthcare people, we all have neighbors who work for the federal government. And you can't have a president just, with the stroke of a pen, deny them the right. So this bill that Chris and I will be introducing enables public sector workers in states to have basically a minimum of or a baseline of collective bargaining rights, just as private sector workers have. And I think that for all that our federal employees do, they deserve to be able to organize for better wages, better conditions, just like the public sector, private sector workers. And that's what this bill is all about. We've been introducing it for a number of years. We're going to keep on going because we need to fight back. So I thank all of you for being here, and especially the unions here who are fighting back. Aloha.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator, thank you. Again, bear with us on a windy day. I want to first acknowledge this wouldn't be happening without the work of Congressman Donald Norcross and his work to get the bill introduced. He's not here today due to a medical emergency. We, of course, wish him a speedy recovery. I want to make one thing clear, though, that this bill is too important to delay. Public sector workers, like all workers, should have the right, the freedom to organize and to collectively bargain. And that fight must move forward. And this administration, as you heard these senators say, has been attacking working people no matter where they work, attacking working folks' union rights, collective bargaining rights that have existed in this country for a long time. They're not only plundering our government to look for tax giveaways to the richest and most powerful people and corporations in the history of humankind. They're putting at risk people's hard-earned benefits, Veterans Affairs, Social Security, I could go on. And they're firing the public sector workers whose important work makes all of our lives safer and better. And the attack on workers' rights is central to that we're seeing in this administration. President Trump and his team have been trying to gut the rights of hundreds of thousands of federal workers who keep our government running, trying to strip away labor rights that we've cherished in America for generations. And again, who are these public sector workers? Librarians, scientists, safety inspectors, nurses, corrections officers, child care providers, sanitation workers. I could go on and on. These are the people that keep society humming along. In Western Pennsylvania, where I am from, we know what it is to respect hard work. We know what it is and how important that hard work is to the American dream. And now is the time for solidarity, right? That is a source of strength in our society. And under federal law right now, protection for public sector workers to join a union or collective bargaining, it's not there. It depends on the state or the territory those workers are in, whether they have those rights. And that's where the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act comes in. What this bill would do is pretty simple: require basic labor standards and union rights for all public sector workers. It gives the Federal Labor Relations Authority the authority to determine if a state or a territory or locality is not providing basic public employees and supervisors their union rights that ought to be guaranteed. and states that do not provide those rights or only partially do will be compelled to meet basic labor standards. So this fight continues. It's one that we must win. And last Congress, we had plenty of efforts here and elsewhere. And one of those I want to highlight, the Public Sector Worker Protection Act, which I introduced, I intend to do again, to give workplace safety protections, OSHA, to public sector workers who are left out because of the states they're in, who are at risk. And I'm proud to say it's been a bipartisan effort. I hope will continue to be that way. We know that strong unions mean stronger workers, which means it lifts up workers all over our economy, whether you're in a union or not. They've built the middle class in this country. And we know, as the American dream, I don't say slipping away, is being ripped away, that workers having more dignity and say on the job is how we fight back, how we have the American dream strengthened for a long way to come. So this fight is a real one. It's a righteous one. It's one that I'm proud to have so many behind me in. And for now, I will pass it over to AFSCME President Lee Saunders.
Well, good afternoon, I guess it is, right? On this very warm day in Washington, D.C. A little windy. Let me thank Senator Hirono and Congressman Deluzio for their incredible leadership every single day. We also want to give a shout out and wish a speedy recovery to Congressman Norcross, who was supposed to be here as well. Finally, I want to give a shout out to Congressman Fitzpatrick, one of our lead bipartisan co-sponsors for this bill. You know, all told, close to 160 members of the House and Senate have signed on to the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act, Democrats and Republicans. And that number is growing every day and every week. I'm proud to be here representing the 1.4 million members of the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, AFSCME for short, who keep our communities safe, keep our communities strong every single day. We are a union of caregivers, sanitation workers, corrections officers, and school custodians. We plow the roads and we inspect the bridges. We manage parks and we get children safely to and from school every single day. We work on college campuses and hospitals and veterans homes and so much more. You know, AFSCME members make a difference in the lives of every single American all across the country. But in about half the nation, state and local employees don't have the same basic freedoms as their private sector counterparts have. They don't have collective bargaining rights, the ability to sit down with the boss and negotiate wages and working conditions and benefits and more. That means no power. That means no leverage. It means little say over how much you make, how safe your workplaces will be, or what your health care or retirement plan will look like. You're essentially forced to take whatever management is willing to give. It's no surprise then that public sector workers with weak collective bargaining rights across this country earn less on average than workers with full collective bargaining rights. And in states where collective bargaining is banned, their paychecks are even smaller. If you're not at the table, there's an old saying, then you're on the menu. The Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act would fix that. It would level the playing field and it would empower all public service workers, no matter where they live, with the right to hammer out a fair contract with their employer. That's something the vast majority of Americans support. The country is overwhelmingly pro-union right now, with about 70% of folks approving the work that unions do, saying that unions are absolutely necessary in the fabric of this country. We bring more vibrant communities, better public services, better skills to the job. This bill will also be a difference maker for women and people of color, for whom public service jobs have been a springboard to the middle class. Now that statement is very personal to me. I come from Cleveland, Ohio. My dad was a city bus driver, a member of ATU. And that union job that he had, that stable position, that negotiated union contract that he carried with him every single day meant there was food on the table and a roof over my brother and my mother's and my father's head. That's what being in a union is all about. So we've got to fight on. We've got to make sure that everyone is treated fairly. Passing this legislation has never mattered more, especially now when collective bargaining rights are under attack. Look what's happening with the federal workforce right now. This is exactly why we need the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act. We believe, just as most Americans believe, that all workers should have a seat at the table. They should have that voice on the job. It shouldn't matter whether they work for a private corporation or a state and local government or the federal government. At the end of the day, this bill is about basic respect. People who have dedicated their careers in helping their neighbors deserve respect. Respect means the right to speak up at work. Respect means the freedom to negotiate. Respect means a voice on the job. Respect means a seat at the table.
Thank you, President Saunders. I'm now very proud to introduce the president of the AFL-CIO, Liz Shuler.
Thank you so much, Congressman. We are so pleased to be here with you today, and it's giving a new meaning to solidarity that we're all standing together on this important day for the legislation, but also so that the wind doesn't carry us away. So thank you all for being here. I am Liz Shuler, president of the AFL-CIO, as the Congressman said. So proud to be here with Senator Hirono, and of course missing my IBEW brother Don Norcross, Congressman Norcross as well. Just the leadership and commitment that they showed to stand with working people, and thank you, Congressman Deluzio, as well. You heard about Lee Saunders talk about the work that our members are doing for their communities every day. And you'll hear from more leaders here on the stage here with me. But I want to talk about something a little different, which is why this fight should matter to every worker in this country, whether you're in a union or not. And we're talking a lot about that these days. 2 weeks ago, 1 million federal workers saw their collective bargaining rights stripped away with the stroke of a presidential pen. And they are legal contracts, and it's their right to stand together in a union. And we have seen this movie before, right? To start with our federal unions, then it's our state and local public sector unions, then it's our private sector unions, and then it's every worker in America getting exploited, losing their rights, their freedoms, their health care, their benefits, because there is no way, as Lee said, no organized way to fight back without unions. Now think about the flip side. This is the better vision I see when we pass the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act, when we enshrine into law collective bargaining rights for our nurses, our paramedics, teachers, childcare providers, sanitation workers, and more. Every single worker in this country will win. And whether you're in a union or not, as we talked about, the numbers show you make more money if there are strong unions around you. You have better health care and benefits if there are strong unions around you. You have a better life because the public services you and your family need are there when you need them if there are strong unions around you. Those are the two paths in front of us, folks. We can stand back as our unions and our rights are gutted and know that every single American worker will feel that pain, or we can come together and fight for something better. Fight to make sure all of us have these basic rights, that all of us are better because of it. And that's why our 63 unions in the AFL-CIO, our nearly 15 million members, are standing shoulder to shoulder with our AFSCME family. Thank you to Lee, who has led on this legislation. Of course, all the other unions that are standing here with me, and the workers across this country who are standing up for their rights, because this is every person's fight, and we are going to win. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Shuler. I'd now like to introduce Margaret Cook from CWA.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Margaret Cook, and I am the Public Healthcare and Education Workers Sector Vice President of Communication Workers of America. I want to thank Representatives Norcross and Deluzio and Senator Hirono for their efforts to bring this critical legislation forward and for their efforts to stand with working people, to defend and expand the freedoms and rights to have a voice on the job and in the economy, to be protected from retaliation for standing up for yourself and your co-workers, and making the law equal across this country for public servants who clock in every day to make our community safe, healthy, and vibrant. The Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act rights a wrong in this country. The deliberate, ongoing, and targeted exclusion of public servants in dozens of states from the basic right to organize and be part of a union. Who are these workers, and how did they come to be in these crosshairs? Well, as we see today, they are librarians, public health workers, they're sanitation workers, and school support staff. They're people who pick up the phone when someone in the community is in need of critical public services. They're the people who are working at our colleges and universities, making sure that this country is still among the most highly educated in the world for now. And the reality is, these are not high-paying jobs. They are everyday working and middle-class jobs that people work because they want to make a difference. They want to build up our communities. They want to help people in need. And they want the dignity and respect that should come with that mission. But in many states across this country, these workers have been cut out of the fundamental rights that all workers deserve. They're cut out so that they're shut up. And they're shut up so that the public services they provide can be attacked, starved, and slashed in order to cut taxes and line the pockets of some of the richest people in the history of the world. And they've been doing this for generations, kicked into overdrive as Jim Crow fell, and public jobs became more integrated and representative. Now, I know this is true because I am one of those workers. Just 5 years ago, I was working behind a desk at the University of Memphis in Tennessee, one of those states where the extreme repressive laws for public servants like myself and like my colleagues, who I worked to organize a union with, I saw what it meant to fight every day for our rights and run into walls that shut us out of a system of real protections for us. Well, the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act helps us tear down those walls and makes us equal and whole while working people with rights, protections, and yes, freedoms in this country, where we show up every day to make work for every one of us. At this exact moment where we see those freedoms under attack more than they've ever been in a generation, this legislation is more critical than ever. The question is, will the political leadership in this country stand up for the interests of working people, or will they side with the oligarchs and the ultra-rich to try and strip us of our rights, keep us shut out, and try to keep us silent? The Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act, similar to the PRO Act, asks them to choose. I'm proud to stand today with leaders who have made a clear choice to support working people. I wish we saw more out there. So let's get this legislation passed. Let's bring some justice to the millions of workers who each of us depends on every single day. Because we're not going to be shut up, no matter how hard they try. We're workers too, and we demand our full and equal rights. We demand our freedom. Thank you.
Margaret, thank you. I'd now like to introduce Eliana Holgate, a children's instructor and research specialist in Howard County Library, the Elkridge branch, AFSCME Council 3 member. Where'd you go? You are here.
Good afternoon. My name is Eliana Holgate, and I am a children's instructor and research specialist from Howard County, Maryland, which to translate from our strategic vocabulary means I'm a children's librarian. I have been doing this job for over 8 years. I love the work that I do. Every day, I am excited to share the joys of learning and reading with all the children who come to our library. Library workers do so much more than just check out books. We create art, teach classes on STEM skills, and foster creativity. We hold community events. We provide important internet access to families who may not have Wi-Fi or computers at home. We are an essential space, and when library workers have a voice on the job, we use that voice to protect public services for our communities. In my state, we did not have statewide collective bargaining rights until last year. That's when AFSCME members successfully fought for a bill to allow library workers across Maryland to unionize. When I realized how much a union could help us improve our lives and public services, I rushed to sign my union card. Our county started the bargaining process last May, and we just finished bargaining our first contract. I am excited about the changes coming for my fellow library workers in Howard County and those we serve. Prior to joining AFSCME, we had a cost of living increase that was stuck at 2% a year for the past 20 years. Meanwhile, other state and local unionized workers in Maryland were receiving annual raises that were twice as much just to keep up with inflation. And I don't know if you've noticed, but costs have risen a lot in recent years. And Howard County, Maryland has the highest cost of living in the state. What we want in Howard County is simple: fair wages, safe workplaces, good benefits, and to live where we work. Thanks to the expansion of collective bargaining, once our contract is ratified, we will be earning more, and our wages and benefits are secure for the next few years. As the threat of serious budget cuts hangs over our heads, my union membership matters more than ever. Being a public service worker with the backing of a strong union means we can earn fair wages, address issues in the workplace effectively, and better serve the children of Howard County and their families. That is why Congress needs to support and pass the Public Services Freedom to Negotiate Act, so that public service workers nationwide can have the freedom to improve their lives and their communities. Workers like me should have the freedom to join a union and have the union we choose recognized. Now, more than ever, workers need to join together and use our voices to stand up for what's right. Thank you.
All right, now I'd like to welcome Sally Murek, a Paraeducator Manager from Montgomery County Public Schools and a member of SEIU Local 500.
Thank you. Thank you to all our legislators for organizing this and having our voice heard. Yes, good afternoon. My name is Sally Murek, and I've worked for over 18 years as the Paraeducator Program Manager in Montgomery County Public Schools, just up the road from Howard County, or down the road, I should say. And I am a proud member of SEIU Local 500. In my role, I support paraeducators who work with students of all levels of special education needs, with students who are learning English in a new culture and who may have experienced trauma or who are continuing to experience trauma, and students who simply need a little extra support to succeed. We are often the first to see when a child is struggling and the first to step in to help. We are the steady presence that makes a classroom, a school, feel safe and supportive for every student every day. I'm here today to voice my support for the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act. Public service workers like myself deserve the federal right to unionize, no matter what state we live in. Being in a union means I have a voice. Being in a union means my treatment in the workplace isn't dependent on someone else's personal views of me. As a union, our members negotiate and advocate for contracts that include fair wages and benefits, not based on subjective points of view, rather the merit of hard work, which speaks for itself. As a member of SEIU Local 500, I feel empowered to speak up and speak out for the tools and trainings my team needs to do their best job. Being a union member has allowed me to be heard. All public service workers, whether in Maryland or in Tennessee, should have that same right. We deserve the freedom to come together, to stand up for our students, our co-workers, and our communities. Thank you.
All right, lastly, I'd like to bring up Eyklipse Baca, a library assistant from Denver Public Library and a member of CWA Local 7799.
Hello, my name is Eyklipse Baca. I'm a member of CWA Local 7799, and I'm proud to stand here in support of the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act. Thank you to Senator Hirono and Representatives Norcross and Deluzio for your leadership and continued effort to ensure public sector workers can join together and have a voice at work. I have been a library assistant for Denver Public Library at the Children's Library for 5 years. As a library assistant, I make displays, shelve books, and maintain our collection. A big part of my job is whimsical displays. When I make our displays, I only use materials from our children's craft rooms that kids can see they can make art too. It's my favorite part of the job. I love making artwork and adding a little sparkle to my workplace and my community. The library is a place where you can really love your job. The services we provide and the work we do feeds into the community. My coworkers and I are helping our city, making a direct contribution to the place we call home. We all work to keep the library alive, so that is why it hurts when there are problems in the workplace that are fixable. For example, during construction in the main library branch, we had ceiling tiles that would fall at random in the children's library. 3 or 4 ceiling tiles fell over the course of several months. We wanted someone to check on the issue as soon as possible, but it was hard because we were between supervisors and short-staffed. The issue didn't get treated seriously enough, even though we constantly pushed for it. Finally, the contractors came and found they had improperly placed the tiles, and after more waiting, they redid them. Why wasn't that mistake caught earlier? It was lucky no one was hurt. It would be bad for a ceiling tile to fall on anyone, but the worst case scenario is if a tile had fallen on a child. When I was approached by a coworker to join the union, my reaction was, of course, I want to make this place better. I was shocked to learn that city workers in Denver lack collective bargaining rights. As someone who grew up in a union family, I've seen firsthand the difference a union can make. Union workplaces are safer workplaces and have higher wages. Public service workers deserve the freedom to form a union and negotiate for pay and benefits without interference from employers if a majority of employees choose to do so. That is why it is important that Congress supports legislation like the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act. All workers across the country deserve the right to bargain for better wages and working conditions, including public service workers who have dedicated our lives to improving our communities. In Denver, we worked hard to ensure a referendum passed in November that creates bargaining rights for the city's public employees. We are now working to make sure we talk to our colleagues to secure majority support and then bargain a fair contract. Collective bargaining will give us a seat at the table to address all our issues, for us at the library and for our fellow city workers. My goal with collective bargaining is to get a better life for me and my coworkers and everyone who works and lives in the city. I love my work at the library, and I know it can be better if we have a collective voice at work. This bill will help make that possible for workers across the country. Thank you.
Eyklipse, thank you, and thanks to all the speakers and the powerful voices you heard from workers and public servants. My communications director, Zoe Bluffstone, will moderate any press questions.
Yeah, can you repeat it? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
The legislation in Colorado.
There's a bill going through the Colorado legislature right now. It's passed the Senate committees. I think it's passed the House committees as well. That would eliminate that second
The
election
Peace Act.
that unions have to go through in Colorado to be certified.
It should be eliminated. He knows that. We're going to talk about the Peace Act.
You know, you're voting for the union. But then the second one, you got to vote for, you got to get 75% for card check. And that's going to stop much more. How would that affect you?
I don't think that will occur. If the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act passes, it would alleviate a lot of those, those tripwires to try and keep a union out.
Thank you for your many years of service. Appreciate it.
Good job.